Shayla, Lawson, Ashley, Coleman. How are you, ladies?
Great.
Doing well. Yeah.
There is so much talk about the movement and, just thinking about the value proposition. At a seat at the table, we really want to talk about access. What does success and access look like for beautiful, intelligent, imaginative Black women, female authors? Shayla, let's start with you.
Okay.
What does that look like? And where do we need to make the most progress? And of course, show me your beautiful book.
Oh, yes. So this is the book that I have out right now. This is Major from Harper Perennial. I think, in answer to your question, I think one of the places where we really need more representation is in publishing itself, in opportunities for us to get our books out there. One of the things that's been really exciting about the last few weeks for me is noticing how many spaces are getting ready to be taken up by Black women in publishing. We've seen Phoebe Robinson is getting ready to open up an imprint. Lisa, I'm blanking on her last name, but she used to run the National Book Awards. She just announced that she's taking over an imprint for Knopf. I'm really excited. In Simon & Schuster, they decided to pick a publishing lead who's a Black woman who used to run the Pulitzer. So those are things I'm really excited about, but it's just taken so long to see us to move up in publishing that I think what often happens is this idea that Black women aren't writing, that our work isn't out there, that there isn't work that represents us out in the market. And it's really difficult to get some momentum behind the idea that we're here, we've always been here, and we've been working really hard. It's just really hard to get our work out there at the same time.
It's cool. I got my ideas at the seat of the table here rolling out. Ashley,
Yes, sir. How are you?
I'm having a great time. I'm really fortunate. I'm not a Black person that has to go to work and literally be, essential to non-essential issues or no PPP and have to drive a public bus. So I am very, 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 very fortunate. So I have no complaints about this life at all. But I am happy to get to hear you.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. I think it's important to have this discussion. I know that all of the recent movement and activity around the movement has caused publishers to kind of ask, what can we do to make publishing more diverse? We all know that the major five publishers is traditionally, not as diverse as it should be. I've been published professionally since I was 17 years old, and a lot of times I'm the only woman of color at the table. So I'm excited to see the diversity starting to happen. I'm excited to see more Black editors, more Black publishers coming to the table. I'm one of many voices that deserve a seat at the table. So I think it's well overdue.
Most people have no clue what you guys are talking about. I mean, it's such a small set. I mean, it is so literature in our community. I think rap lyrics probably, unfortunately, push aside the very value. But I thought it was interesting because it's still the lack of ownership. Like, fund our companies and let us have the distribution. So I thought that was an interesting seat. I'm not sure that just the jobs are okay. But I think we talk about the imagination, someone like you, where's the 50-50 or the 51-49% company where you know that it's beyond an imprint. It's literally you are a Black publisher.
I agree. I definitely think that that is the way to go. The problem is that there aren't many publishers that support that type of system. Owning our IP, owning our creative voices, not selling the rights to all of the publishing that we do create. It's very important because people come in and they capitalize off of the creativity of Black artists and they buy it out. They literally own you. But I do think that it's time to move forward and move in a different direction where we are owning the IP. We are retaining those rights. That way, we can keep them for future generations. I think it's important to start to build generational creativity, generational wealth. So that way the artists of today will have something to pass down to future Black artists of tomorrow.
And I think one of the biggest obstacles to that is that we do see it happening in the small press sector, in which there are companies that offer you those kinds of contracts, but it's also really dependent on the artist to get their work out there. And so when we ask artists to also be producers and to be marketing agents for themselves and to be PR people, at what point do they get to be responsible for the art? So we would have to see a massive restructuring of how we look at literature and how we look at access to literature in order to make that happen. And we've seen a lot of successful Black writers who've published independently or published on small presses, but it takes a huge grassroots appeal and now like a digital grassroots appeal to create space for that work and to get to the readership that you're looking for, the readership that needs you. So as long as we're in those silos, it's going to be difficult for us to get enough traction for more ownership of IP. But one of the things that I think is helping is the fact that we have this great ability with social media and with the diversity of programming that we're seeing in terms of platform. We can use YouTube now to do television shows. We can use the web as a source for us to buy back creative power by taking that over first, which is something I've been really impressed with when it comes to Black people and how we've used all these different resources as a continuation of channels to have conversations with. But yeah, I don't know. I don't know what's it going to look like in the next 5 years or so with books. When you say yourself that like rap lyrics, music is a lot of where people look to us as entertainers and not necessarily writing as the first place.
Yeah, it's odd because writers, we were the original entertainers. If you look at any entertainment industry, the writers are always the backbone of that industry. But a lot of times we are the silent artists. We are the artists behind a lot of the bigger brands. But I agree with you, Shayla. The emergence of social media, it allows for us to own the IP. It allows for us to begin to build our own table instead of asking for permission to sit at others' tables. And it allows us to keep the revenue that we earn. And there are some people who do it very successfully. But I think that the lack of readership, I think we have to bring Black people, our people, back to the artist that is writing, the artist that is creating in the format of words. That's a timeless format. Books will never go anywhere. It's the original form of entertainment. So I think it's important that we encourage our community to pick up a book more, to put those other things down just for a second, to slow down and to really appreciate what's on the page.
Well, that was my long pause. Just so when you're writing it into your book, Ashley, it was my long pause. He paused very long, for a long time.
For dramatic effect, of course.
Yeah, of course. It was the dramatic effect. I'm not certain. I mean, obviously, for me, I don't agree. I believe if we don't ask for more, like if you literally know that you've already been discriminated against in an industry, and we don't set some numbers and investment. I think the ask in terms of investment is one of those things that we're going to have to be much louder about. You hear brothers and sisters, even the sister that did the 1619 project, talking about reparations. So when you think about kind of Ashley, what you're talking about, the IP that was borrowed for too long, contracts that were horrible, and contracts that you still own IP to people that have passed, 40 years ago, and they wouldn't have signed that deal, and you're still getting a check from them, or public libraries and institutional libraries funded by the public, and you're pushing the books through there, and yet we still don't own the IP. Well, we've invested in your company. So I think those are the other numeric approaches that we want to use to help what I would consider, Shayla, investment in our Black-owned publishing entities. And then collaboration. I think it's the same way. Apple, are you giving the two of you? Are you going to automatically be at the top of the list because we need to be 15% of everything you do in your book listing? So I think those are more locations that must be demanded. I'm sure they're not going to just be given because that's not the intention of systematic racism at all. Um, so that's just my thought because I thought even the article that I saw in the Times highlighted everything but ownership.
Mm.
It talked about like we were HR having an HR conversation, and I agree with Miss Coleman. We've always had phenomenal writers, so that's not the issue,
Mm.
So I think that's beautiful. But what makes you both want to be storytellers? Because to me, that is such a beautiful spirit to want to be able to tell a story. Can you start us off, Ashley?
Well, for me, growing up in Flint, Michigan, I was a girl who, I didn't come from much. It was very meager beginnings. And reading books was just a form of escapism. It allowed me to see how the other side lived, but there weren't any books. At least I hadn't discovered any books back in the 90s coming up that reflected my life, reflected, a character that looked like me, a character that I could empathize with. They just didn't exist. I was reading about these white girls with blue eyes and blonde hair and these white picket fences, and that was not my reality. So when I started to pick up a pen and try my hand at writing, it was very important to me to tell a story for little girls that looked like me, who came from a place that I came from, who, defied the odds and really made the most out of poor circumstances. It was extremely important for me to add a Black character, Black women who were strong, who were smart, who defied the status quo, defied the statistic to a fictional story. That was like my goal, to make sure that my narrative reached the shelves and reached the hands of readers.
I ponder when I think about someone who describes the richness of the minimal aspects of how life is started for them, and whether it's poor or rich, given the imagination that you've poured into these books for so many other generations to enjoy. So I hear you. I think that's beautiful that now a young girl from Flint, or maybe the D, because I don't really don't hang out in Flint. I love the D. I'm in my last city before I left Chicago, headed down here to Atlanta, was to hang out with my brothers, and I probably have at least 200 Morehouse brothers in Detroit, and all of them have businesses. So I hang out in the deep a lot. I just have never felt a calling, and my grandparents retired from Fisher Body and moved to Lansing. So I've hung out in the D my entire life, but I just never made it to Flint.
You're gonna have to make it one day. It's a cool place. Like, it's home. So it's
Yeah, no, you got to invite me. 2021. I'm not that dude. If I come, it's important. If I show up, there's a party. So, it's not that. I'm like the guys. I'm buying the real estate. I don't buy cars. So like, car is not something I'm ever gonna buy. So, I own a media company. They bring me a car every week. I'm good on cars. I don't need a car. No, I can just review cars and I'm cool. So.
well, lots of good investments in Flint. You'll definitely have to visit.
I just interviewed a sister that's the epidemiologist in Flint. It's a sister. Forget her name. She's a doctor, like PhD doctor. But
Oh, that's brilliant.
yeah, and she was in Flint. So
Yeah.
I'm not sure storyteller. You're gonna have to you share with your brother a little bit deeper than that on just like coming to Flint, because every day is so precious to me when I'm hanging
Yeah.
out. And
Yeah. Lots of good people there. Lots of undiscovered talent in Flint.
yeah, so still I'm not feeling it yet. You gotta bake me in, Ashley. You like, listen, this is what you're gonna get. You know what I mean? Like, I want to know, kind of like Shayla. This is major. This is major. She says this is major. You see that on her book, didn't you, Ashley? This is major. Yeah, it's major. What makes you be a storyteller, Shayla? Or why do you choose to be a storyteller? I don't know if you're made or feel a calling, so I don't want to assume anything.
I feel like it's what I've always been. I feel like it's the place that I can do the most good in the world. Um, I Flint, Michigan is very similar to Lexington, Kentucky in a lot of ways, in that we're part of the same migration chain. I grew up around a lot of people who came from Flint down to Lexington, and often like migrated from Lexington to onto Atlanta. And I think we're part of a legacy of people whose stories aren't necessarily the most prominently told. I think it's wonderful to me to think about the fact that like Toni Morrison comes out of Ohio and she writes about that region, because there's so much about all of us that are in the middle and the particular struggles of being in the middle and being part of the South that I want the world to know about. And there's plenty of people out there that are writing and writing it well. I just thought I also wanted to try my hand at it and be part of the story, because I love books. I admire writers, and I just wanted to be part of the conversation. I think, I started out very much as a fangirl. Spent all my life loving books, and is the only thing that I want to do is make sure there's more of them in the world.
I'm not sure I believe that, but anyhow,
What don't you believe?
I believe that I'm a butterfly. At least that's what Ashley says. I don't ever believe what people tell me.
Oh, that's good. That's actually very smart.
I rarely believe that. We're doing an interview, and I hear Ashley has this series, and it's serious. So I'm really looking forward to the idea. But I don't know. I think you're a little bit more, I think you're a little bit more detailed. I believe there's a lot more nuances to them. Ashley, she didn't tell us that she studied architecture in Italy so it's not that average Flint. I'm from Detroit. I'm from the West Side, or I'm from the East Side, or I'm just there. I mean, you're truly the example of I'm not your Negro.
I mean, I've been all over the world, but I think
that's not even like, I don't know that I could put my moniker. Help me out, Ashley. I don't know that I could believe. I think that you're an example of what isn't from any place other than, destined for greatness. Like, don't ask me where I'm from. Like, I'm Black, and, every detail you wouldn't believe. So why are you asking me? So
and I think it's true, but I also think it's really important for people to see me and see a Kentuckian, because no one would imagine that a girl who grew up, right outside of a bunch of horse farms that my family did not own would travel the world and be an architect and do marketing work for Google and Nike and be a housewife, and then turn around in like the fourth or fifth iteration of a career and be a college professor and write books. It's important to me that I come from an Appalachian heritage, because of how many times I was told that that was something that didn't belong to me. Like, I couldn't be from Kentucky. I couldn't be Appalachian because I did so much stuff. And I think that it's been us who have had to redefine the ways that people look at us, because we come out of these small towns, particularly as Black people, and there's this stigma of what that means and how much of the world you have access to. So I hold to it because of the fact I think it's important that people see me, people like young people who are out there, young girls, and see like you can grow up in the middle of anywhere, and the world is still available to you, which I don't think we're often told. It's not always going to be easy to get access to it, but we have a world out there. It's not just the small places that we get put into, which is why the book is This Is Major, because that's the way that I think about Black women. I think that we are major and we're everywhere.
Well, I don't agree with that either. So we are just having that kind of.
We'll just disagree.
Ashley.
Yes.
You hear that setup? Like, I think we're major. We know we're major. Like, we know we're major. There's no.
Right.
We know.
No, we are major.
We
We
know
are
we're
major.
major.
You're absolutely right. Yeah.
They might work to minimize how major we are, but we know that we're super major.
They work actively to minimize how major we are. No, you're absolutely right.
Your brother's really joking. I'm pretty light fellow.
Nah, I get it.
I work hard not to be a, I want you to remember me for certain. So when I get to Flint, I will actually know why I'm there. So let's talk about this trilogy franchise. We're going to talk to Ashley for a second because I'm not sure what kind of architecture ideas you're going to share with me, but I'm renovating a house right now. So.
Me, architecture?
No, I think for you, I'm trying to figure out why a franchise and why the characters that you choose to what Morgan's really about, and I want to know the relationship that you have to street characters and sophisticated crime. What is that about?
Well, all of that is very near and dear to my heart because of my upbringing. It's important for me to mention Flint because when people think of it, that's what they think about. They think about the violence and the grit and all of the horror stories that you hear of the young people who don't make it out of there. My husband and I started writing books at a very early age, but before that, we were on the track to being some of those people who chose to just live a life that we were told we could have. It was drug dealers and the girls who loved them. Those were the images that I saw coming up. I didn't see Black doctors and Black lawyers, and there were no Black professionals around me. Everyone that I saw that had a legitimate claim to success were white people, and it didn't feel like I had a stake in that or ownership in that until I started to write books. He and I wrote our first book at the age of 17. And ever since then, it's just kind of been, full steam ahead. We've had over 40 novels. We've had several New York Times bestselling titles. And we pull from our experience. That's what I pull from to write these tales. Morgan's story is one of evolution. It's about a young girl who's finding her way through the world. She's leading with her heart, but she comes from a very gritty place, and a lot of people count her out. But she's determined to take her seat at the table and take her stake in the world. She wants a piece of it, and nothing really stops her. And she's changing and growing and evolving along the way. And some of the things that I've learned in life and love are filled on those pages. So it was important for me to write about a girl from my city who just wants to figure out life her way. She wants to march to the beat of her own drum. And that's what the Butterfly Trilogy is about.
I like that idea of trilogy for sure. I think it's important. I'm trying to, and I pretty much got that idea, but I was wondering a little bit more on the success of having series. Like I love the idea of series for our community.
Yeah, it's important to flesh the story out really well, to tell the story at its own pace, to let the characters set the cadence a bit, and to just really delve into the art. A lot of people write books and they rush through the book. They're so eager to get the story told that they forget to put the details in it. The devil is in the details. It's the nuances of the characters, the way they speak, the things that they believe, the things that make them anxious and nervous. So I put all of those little things into each character, and it all builds to one great story that my fans feel. They're not just reading it, they're experiencing it. They're, seeing it, it's playing as movies in their heads. So it's important for me to make sure that the characters are fleshed out. And normally that takes me a few books. I'm not a quick writer at all. I'm not like writing popcorn reads. I want it to reach your soul. I want it to be soul food.
And racy.
Yes, definitely racy. Nothing boring about an Ashley Antoinette novel.
It's major.
It's major. In the words of Shayla, it's definitely major.
Oh, you gotta know that it's major, and she's a butterfly, Ashley, and all of a sudden. So, what made you write your book? And because I don't want anybody to ever think that they're less important. Ashley, I have a book coming out next Tuesday.
Oh, congratulations.
Congratulations.
Yeah, no, it's a coloring book. You guys can just buy it.
Congratulations still, you know, it's the market.
It is an adult women's coloring book.
Ooh, even better.
Did you hear that, Ashley?
I heard you.
I'm counting on you to tell your fans about me. But
I got you covered.
Yeah, at any rate, I really want it. So, how'd you pick your title, Shayla?
I've been wearing a necklace like this one for a while that actually says Major on it because I moved to the Pacific Northwest, and despite the fact that I grew up in the South, and you know, I went through like the Trump era in the Netherlands. I was there when they had like their Trump leader, and he used to come over to New York to burn Qurans in front of the World Trade Center and all sorts of crazy stuff. All that, and still Portland was the most racist place I've ever lived. I've never felt that invisible in my entire life. I've never felt so insignificant or so threatened. And so on my birthday one year, I had this necklace made for me. Not this one. This one was made by Lorraine West recently, who's a Black jewelry designer. She's incredible.
Shout out to her.
Yeah, shout out to her. She designs for Beyonce and Megan Thee Stallion and Erykah Badu. And
I don't care about them.
And me.
She designs for Shayla.
I'm trying to get some sales. Like, that's I'm like, hey, you know, if you want yourself a major necklace, like that's the place to go. But yeah, like, so I started walking around with this first to just help me with how I felt in this space. And how vulnerable I felt in a bad way to be in this place that the thought of Black women is so insignificant to culture. And from there, I knew that that was the theme of the book. Like that was the thing that we needed to talk about. But it took us a while to kind of get to like, how do we put that in the title? And then I found this quote from Toni Morrison after she died that says, "Racists always try and make you believe that they're the majority, but they never are." And that was where I was like, oh yeah, this is it. This is major. Like this is about the idea that we have always been a part of the majority, and we can't take a seat back at the you know, we can't push ourselves away from the table. We can't be serving at the table. Like we either need to be at the table or we need to be creating our own, because that has what has always fortified us. That's what's allowed us to survive. And so I wanted to make sure that was a big part of the conversation, is that we are one big bombastic track when you think about Black women and femmes and their contribution to American society.
Femmes.
Yeah, because I'm really drawn to the idea that Black femininity has been something that has just generally been taken away from us. So it doesn't matter to me whether we're looking at women, excuse me?
Generally?
Yeah,
I don't even think that they claim it. Like I do not believe that they don't want to own their racist and rapist past.
And who doesn't? Like white people? Or?
Yeah, at all.
Oh, no. And particularly when it comes to the fact that we aren't allowed as a culture to be feminine or masculine in a way that doesn't serve them. Like femininity was taken away from Black women as part of slavery. Like the strong Black woman archetype is all about trying to divorce us from anything that is beautiful or that needs to be cared for. And then also just looking at African culture, we've always had this beautiful spectrum in which we look at masculinity and femininity as these places where we move in and out. Like it's a full humanity. It's not just the idea that you have to be either the strong mandingo or you have to be the strong Black woman who just takes on everything. We have multitudes in what our story has always been. So I think about Black women, Black girlhood, Black femmehood, the non-binary identity, trans women, like how all of these things fit into, and also trans men and masculinity in general, like how all of these things start to fit in to what was taken away from us because we had to be these two-dimensional Black people that made white people comfortable. And we are not that. And I think it's, I should stop saying, I think it is important that we stop pretending that we are small and that we are very easy to read.
How do you feel about that, Ashley? This femme conversation, because somebody in there with candles and lights and bright ideas. Shoot, Black Lives Matter. It's causing some strong thoughts from some brothers. Ashley?
I think that women, the identity of what is feminine and what it is to be a woman changes outside of women. Like, we aren't the ones creating the definition of what it is to be feminine and what it means to be a Black woman. I feel like everyone has kind of identified and defined that for us over, decades. I think recently Black women have taken back the power that we have. We've redefined it for ourselves. We're stepping into our own as mothers, as business women, as creators. I think that we're very confident, especially millennials. I think that the tone of womanhood and the expectation of what it means to be a woman today has changed because we've reclaimed our power as women. We've reclaimed our voice. We don't let other people speak for us. We're very loud in a room. We're unafraid to be big. We're unafraid to be powerful. And I think that that's very important. I think that it's important that we live up to our own expectations instead of trying to meet the expectations that others have placed on us. And that goes from creatively to romantically, in a friendship, in a business boardroom, across the board. We are kind of adjusting our crowns and realizing that what we say matters.
And I think it's important to remember that the Black Lives Matter movement itself was created by three Black femmes. It was created by three Black women.
Exactly.
It's always been a part of the conversation. I really appreciate Ashley's comments about, the way that we have been envisioned as a Black femininity, as Black women, versus the way that we see ourselves, because we see ourselves in a lot more spaces than have ever been allowed to us.
And I think that we're reaching those spaces. Like, we are not afraid anymore to go after what we want. If it doesn't fit into the box that people have placed us in for so long, we're breaking out of that box and we're unapologetic about it. And I think that that's so important. And I think for the first time, we aren't looking to explain that. We aren't looking to apologize for breaking out of the box as Black women.
Did you see that?
Dramatic pause.
Yes.
Dramatic pause. You're very good at that.
There's a skill.
It's just been amazing, this whole transformation during the uprising. My friend called me, and obviously I'm in Atlanta, and he says, "These kids are making us look so bad. They're all in the street, over 50, very established, huge developer." And I was like, "Making who look bad? Like, bro, who's he making look bad? Who are they making look bad?" I said, "Were you planning to go in the street? Did you plan to protest anytime soon?" I said, "You might want to put a new lens on it." So 3 days later, he said, "I guess I missed that. I didn't know there was a movement going on." I said, "It's been going on a little while. You just kind of like bubble back. It finally just really popped off." I said, "You kind of missed that." And so, yeah. And then the Black Lives Matter. He called me the other day, and he was so upset. He says, "Did you read their manifesto?" I said, "Yeah, man, probably when they put it up, we read it." He says, "Well, they just don't want the man to only be the head of the household." And I said, "Bro," I said, "that math is kind of pretty bad. Like, I'm like, if 75% are run by them, what's the problem?" And he really was trying to justify this conversation. And I was like, I'm not quite having that. Like, you really gotta make some adjustments on these glasses you got on, because they're like really dated, and you got to really get with where things are. And I just think it's taking a a moment for our community to even catch up with Black women. And I say that for Black men. I say that for, the Black culture, how we want to define it. I think when Taraji said, look, don't treat us like freaking superheroes. That's like a curse.
Yes.
You just want to jump off the building for you, right? I'm going to jump off the building for you. Just jump off the building for you. No, get out of here with that, So I've loved it. I loved it. I loved it. I loved it. I love it.
I think as a community, we have to recognize that we are only as strong as the Black woman. We are the birthers, we're the mothers, we're the nurturers. So it works in tandem. Black men and Black women are a team. There is no, sometimes, Black men lead and we follow, and sometimes Black women lead and men follow. And there's nothing wrong with that. I think that the sooner that we start to work together and stop with these ideals of masculinity and overtaking femininity, and that feminine Black women have to be weak or, not business people or not, in the forefront. I think all of those things just keep us apart as a community. I think unity between Black men and Black women is important. I think teamwork is important. My husband and I have always functioned that way. Like, he appreciates having a strong Black woman for a wife. And there's, nothing more valuable to me than having a strong Black man as a husband. The stronger we are as a unit, that's the stronger our family is, that's the stronger that our community will eventually become. And we have to embrace that as a whole throughout our entire culture. Division only makes us weaker.
Amen.
And we have to accept the fact that emasculation of Black men is happening because of the white patriarchy and not because of Black
women. Yes.
We're not responsible for it. We don't support it. We are doing the best that we can to keep our community sustained. And we need to look at who we're picking as the villain, who we're picking as the people that are actually against our continued.
I'm not concerned with my brothers being uncomfortable. I think uncomfortable is important for change.
Absolutely.
A lot of people that their shoes have been on too tight. They got the wrong size clothes. They're wearing the wrong mask. I mean, they got the wrong glasses. They got everything wrong. So I just wanted to hear and have the conversation just so that we all put it out there from two phenomenal sisters who, of course, it's Major, which is my dearest Shayla Lawson. I appreciate the conversation. Ashley, I'm going to have to see you next time. But Butterfly #1 and Butterfly #2 is currently available for all of you. So you need to buy 2 books and go out there today and make a difference in the lives and read it with a friend, share it with a friend, and support these 2 beautiful writers who have created a world for us all to see. It's a book club that's getting ready to come you guys' way. Obviously, I'm launching in the next 2 weeks, blackbookstore.com. And we are definitely doing a book club. So I'm going to include you guys and make sure we're a part. And then I have a conference at the end of September called RIDE, Rolling Out Innovation Digital Entertainment Conference. And we talk about book writing there. So I appreciate you both coming on a seat at the table. It has been my pleasure. I hope you all the best. And I love that Shayla is holding up her book. And
gotta keep on it. Bye, Butterfly. Bye. This is Major. Thank you, Munson. This has been amazing.
Great plug, Shayla. Thank you.
I look forward to catching up with you both. If I can ever help you, let me know what I can do. And obviously, my team is here for you. So much love to you. About 2 weeks, blackbookstore.com will be rolling and we'll be on our way. So got Ingram doing the distribution and I'm looking at the site. So take a peek by the end of next week. Right now, they're just important files to see how it works, but it's on its way. We got some good stuff. By holiday, we're going to move some Black books.
All right.
That's amazing. I'll make sure I send all my fans to blackbookstore.com.
Yeah, we got it. I mean, it's just going to be important for all of us. So it's not just mine. It's going to be yours. And that's for real, for real, for real. All right. Love you both. Take care.
Thank
All
you.
right.
You as well.
Yeah. Bye.
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 All of you out there, please be sure to go out and purchase these books. It's important that we as a community have favorites. Of course, these are two of mine, both Shayla and, of course, my wonderful dear sister who has all the great books. She has a whole series. So I want you, but of course, Shayla has its major. So we want you to make sure that its major is on your list. And Ashley is the bomb, and she literally has a series. So, young lady, it has been the best. All right. What's happening? Rolling at the table. Ian.
My brother, how you doing?
I'm actually having a wonderful day. You know,
Good.
um, my conference, we decided to have RIDE. So we're going to have RIDE, Rolling Out Innovation Digital Entertainment Conference.
That's exciting.
That's going to happen the 25th. Been thinking about you, so I got to call you so we can launch.
You know, whatever you need, I'm all in.
No,
I already know.
it's the one thing that you'll learn about your brother is not that you haven't learned it, but I'm an easy read. I literally, if I don't believe in you, I don't mess with you at all. I'm not one of them maybes.
I'm the same way.
Yeah, maybes. I'm good on maybes.
I'm good on the maybes. Yep.
I'm good on the maybes. Y'all keep those maybes. But I was thinking Third Ward, then I was thinking something, but I was trying to figure out a name. Obviously, you're there in Houston, so I didn't know where we wanted, but just a name for our program for stock ownership and some kind of trading. So whether even, we've now changed the name of the show to A Seat at the Table, which we think kind of fits more with the dynamics of stock exchange seat. So maybe we'll just run with that.
I like that.
So a seat at the table, we kind of figure it kind of plays into what you were doing, and maybe we'll do the seat for the 100. And maybe we'll come up with 100 stocks that everybody, some or one Black person should own, and maybe somebody owns.
I'll get that to you by next week then. That's a great idea.
You see what I mean? That way everybody, somebody own a little bit of this, and for the youngins, here's what we think, and then kind of go with the 100, and that way we kind of got our picks, and this is where we are.
That's incredible, man. And kudos to Shayla for that amazing plug at the end. I'm excited about that Black bookstore as well, because we need to push more of our material out into the world.
It's happening. I've had it for a while, man. When you're an entrepreneur, just getting the your ideas to market. I got a coloring book that's landing Tuesday night from China, and I got a female adult coloring book, tote bag, all half.
Send me the link. I'll send it out to everybody. As soon as it goes live, I'll send it to all my people.
This is the first one. We just get it for the family, and then we'll send the link out once we got Peace and Purpose really
moving. Yeah,
it's kind of like putting it all together and getting the last bit of product in. Man, it's just like it's been an amazing journey. I sold. I've got a partner. I white labeled to the National Council of Negro Women, so they did incredible buy. So that was cool. And I only had to change like 10 pages out of 110 pages. So
that's beautiful.
Yeah. Good partnership. You know what I mean? They like the artwork. They like the affirmations. So that's good. But what's new in the market? Because I know at A Seat at the Table, we have my brother, Ian Dunlap, and he can give us the insight we and all need to know for building wealth and not working for our money, but letting our money work for us.
Yeah, which is a key point. I miss chatting with you, man. So I'm glad to be back this week. And then we can also talk about that day that we want everyone to end up buying stock. I think I have a good date for us, but we'll talk about that. Cool. It was announced yesterday that Moderna is going to be the company that rolls out the vaccine. Okay. So as a result, they shot back up, which was, in one of my top 5 companies that I thought. I know a lot of people are going to ask if they should buy right now. I think it's too high at the $80 range. If it drops back to 50, maybe then. But a very interesting thing happened. A lot of the executives start selling off their shares when the news was announced. So I thought if it's going up, you got the government contract, why cash out so much now? So for me, that's not a great sign. So I want to give that context as well. And since we talked last, of course, the ones that I talked about before, Apple, Microsoft, They've went up, they've hit all-time highs. So the tech play continues to work over and over and over again. Nike is still chugging along and doing very well. So overall, the market is up, even though we may not be seeing it in our economy, in Black households and Black hiring, etc. But that's one of the things we talked about. We got to put some of these things in our hands and come together so we can help each other do better together financially.
Well, no, I think there's some insight in that because for many people, they have no idea why you would even be paying attention to people selling if they're inside a company. Why is that?
So let's just say, let's use a basketball reference. So if I'm the GM of the Lakers and I get LeBron on the team, why would I then say, let me go be the GM for the New Jersey Nets or the Brooklyn Nets, right? If you know that you have a winner. So to me, that's a telltale sign that they may not believe in the vaccine and they may have seen some of the data and may not think that it's going to work as well. And being African-American, I'm anti us being tested first for any vaccine. I'm not an anti-vaxxer for all my parents. Don't kill me. You got to spread out those vaccines though. But so don't run out and get it right away. I'm begging you. But I think it's strange if you get it would be the same like if, let's say President Obama came to you and said, you're going to be the official publication for me. And then you're like, well, I'm going to go work somewhere else. I'm like, why? So that signaled me to be like, maybe something is happening that's a little bit troubling on the inside. And I can understand taking some profit, but for executives to sell off heavily, that's troubling to me.
Well, or somebody might say they just have so much of it, so much of the stock.
That's a good point.
That they're really trying to. A lot of times, people have to hold.
Yes.
And I don't know anything about the stock, so clearly I'm not in your position.
No, listen, but you do have wisdom and expertise.
Yeah.
So I will say, look, I want to see in a couple months how this plays out. And I know people are always asking, hey, like the stocks are high. Can we get some recommendations around ones that are a little bit cheaper? The company AMD, so they make processors. For any of you parents, you can ask your kids about AMD. They usually power the games they play. AMD is at like $55. If you get it at 50, I think most parents would be able to afford a share or two of AMD. And it's a tech company, so probably in 3 years it'll be
part
110.
of what we're saying to all parents here is $100.
Yeah,
like we're really saying that's a 2 share.
Yeah,
that's
those easy.
2 shares. We're saying everybody $100.
Yeah,
Minimum that investment to be a seat at the table and participate in the club is $100. I mean, we're not, and it's your 100. You get to hold it.
Yeah, you get to hold it. You won't send it to us.
You don't.
We're
not even trying to do that. We just want to register and know that you're there. But I think that what you're sharing with people, and I think what people often do, don't think of owning the shares, but own the company.
Yes.
Like why do you want to brag about that one? That was probably good for the kids.
Yes.
If you're talking to your friends and you want to be with a company that makes $2,500 computer, then you might want to just own some Apple. And sometimes I think it's like a Birkin bag. I think if you don't want to be proud about the stocks you own, then you don't want things that work for you. If you want more material goods and you think that the red bottoms work for you,
yes,
then know that that's not true.
Yes.
And that is what people want to rent in your head to give yourself value, but that is not value.
At all. They may look good for that season, and then from a year from now, you won't even like the red bottoms or whatever else that you buy, right? So, yeah, I wanted to have those value conversations, and especially with the wave hitting here pretty bad in Houston, and Atlanta is going to get back bad. Arizona's still terrible, and they didn't shut down early enough. I think that part of that was for political reasons, but this wave is going to take some time. I mean, we're in July now. Probably this thing won't die down until January, maybe February. That's insane to think about. So that's why I think it's important to have these conversations now, because I think if we can get back to some of the values that we had in the 50s and 60s, and I know people always reference Black Wall Street, but if we get back to community economics and share things with each other, I think this can end up being a blessing in disguise that we needed to happen probably 10, 15 years ago, but better now than never.
Well, I'm on long pause today. I don't know if you caught the show. I had two phenomenal sisters, but I was in my long pause moment. But I was really waiting for you to keep talking because this is your part of the show at the seat of the table. I
I
am
appreciate it.
I am so far away from monitoring it. I just love to hear your insight. So, who else are we looking at in the tech sector that people need to know about? Price be damned. Like, do not be afraid. High or low, lack of ownership is what we're talking about. You're not sitting at the table.
Yeah.
You're not even getting ready to have a meal 2 days from now if you do not participate.
Outside of AMD, Nvidia is another one. They are another processor. So there's companies inside of tech or subsectors that you can focus on. People are gaming like crazy. So whether it's in a computer or they're in PS4, PS5 is going to be pretty big. I know some people have asked me about Sony. I don't love Sony per se, but they have had a bounce. They're going to slide back down, maybe around like $65. And this is the big thing that I tell everyone. And we talked about this with Tesla a couple weeks ago as well. And Tesla has went crazy since then. You can capture a lot of these upside gains if you just hold them for 5 years. Everyone always wants to take, let's say, 500 and be like, well, if I can flip it to 1,000, that'd be great. But you're going to miss some opportunities to get in things for $500, and in 5 years they're worth 7,000 and 8,000. And as we know, as our kids get older, they're going to be involved in more activities. We have to start planning for college. So Tesla still has some more room to go up. Nvidia is another great company. Facebook, even though I don't like all of the practices there, they're still relatively cheap for a stock in the tech space. They're in like the 240 area. If they drop back to like 225, you can buy them and hold them. Facebook should run up to about $325 in about 2.5 years. So you'll get a good return there, hypothetically. Of course, investing has considerable risk. Anything can happen. Don't put your last dollar into the market, but those are some companies that you should definitely keep your eye on. And I know people are getting really excited about Ford because the Ford Bronco is supposed to be this gangbuster turnaround machine for Ford. It won't be. But if you do want to, let's say, buy a couple of shares and ride it up for a couple of months, maybe, but I don't think Ford is a good company to invest in long term. A lot of people have been asking me about that. But if you trade it, which is a different conversation.
Where are they trading at now?
You said what?
Where are they at for now?
They're at $6.74. So if you can get Ford,
been lower before. So
they've been lower. Yeah, they were at $3.96 earlier this year. If you can get Ford maybe at $5.50 or
those are some of the shoppers that really don't follow some of your philosophy, and there are those that really don't mind the dividend strategy because many of the investors that I know, particularly out of Detroit, they're big into the dividend, which is kind of opposing the ideology as it relates to investing for you.
Mm-hmm.
So in our community, at least have a damn strategy.
Yeah, at least have something. And the only thing with dividends is like I want the company to go up in value. So Apple and Microsoft pay a small dividend. Ford pays a bigger one, but like if you look at Ford back in 2011, it was at $18.97. Since 2014, it's never been above 17 again. So you get a dividend, but you're also bleeding down. I want the best of both worlds. So I want a company that's going to go up and will pay a dividend, even though the dividend will be smaller. Because trust me, you're not going to wake up in the middle of the night if you hear some bad news about the company and want to sell off. So I know it's cheap, but cheap usually tells you it won't go up. And then even if we go back to the glory years, if we look back, let's say 20 years, I mean, the high the Ford was at $31.41 back in 2001 when I was in college. It hasn't come close to $30 since then. So I don't think that the Bronco is going to do it or any other remakes that they issue. But dividends are good. You just want to tie it to a company that's going up, and there are plenty of them out there.
For all those who put their money in energy, not the time to be in energy right now.
No, I wouldn't. I know Buffett acquired Dominion Energy, and as a business, it was a good business deal. But energy is not the way that you want to go at this particular time. Crude oil, even though it's been on the upswing since the disaster that happened a couple months ago, it's not one of the primary sectors that you want to focus on that's going to give you your most bang for your buck. And especially like anything related to natural gas is not where you want to put your money.
Fracking is over.
Please tell them. I know people think that they're going to have a resurgence. Not this decade or next. It's over. It's over. We're going to go more towards electric. We're going to move away from some of those resources as well. And not only that, it's harmful for the planet as well. So there's some trade that people are starting to wake up. If you can get a better return elsewhere, electric, and then also make more money, gravitate to the things that will make you money. It's a lot easier.
So when you think about those individuals that are trying to have a 10-year plan, how should they approach having a 10-year plan?
Well, you know, one of the toughest parts is to not deviate from it and change it. That's an internal thing. So I'll phrase it to you. How do you not go off track from building your business, let's say 10 years ago, and stay on track, you know, and continue to build a great publication the way that you have? Because it's the same battle. You get different temptations. You may see competitors go in more salacious routes, right? And you're like, well, I can get those clicks because I know those people, but you have to run your race. So the thing that I'll tell everyone is map out your plan. And whether it's your uncle, your auntie, your mom, your dad, everyone's going to tell you that you're crazy until it works. And then they're going to be like, baby, I'm so proud of you. Whatever your vision is for you, God gave you that vision. You stick with your vision. Don't deviate from it. So, and I think this moment, this year, especially with so much death and so much bad happening in the economy, I think we all have woken up to be like, we really need to plan far and ahead just in case. Because I've never seen a year like this. I'm 37. You can tell me this is one of the wildest years. This feels like 5 years in one, compressed into one. So everyone listening, please just stick with your race. I know it's tough to do sometimes, but trust me, it's worth it. The work that I put in 2009, 2010 paid off in 2019 and 2020 for me tremendously. So if you're just getting started, you can lean on us. And now we have a more of a community aspect where you can speed up those results as well. Just stick with the plan, please.
You know, when I said that, I was really just saying discipline.
Mm-hmm.
At the end of the day, whether you just hoarded your cash, I think if this moment hasn't said to you, save.
Yeah.
Obviously, where you park your investment is key.
Yes.
So why you would want to invest in something that you have no idea about,
mm-hmm.
but you know that there's an Apple in your house.
Yes.
You know that your kids love Nike.
Yes.
You know that they're gamers. You know that they tell you to go to GameStop. I think those are the telltale signs on how you should participate in an economy.
Yes.
You know, live in Detroit, you might want to own some of Detroit and just say that, and that's part of what you do. But if you're really working to move forward and have generational wealth, then you want to pay attention and, you know, have a 10-year, a 50-year, and then a plan that's not for you, but for the next generation.
Yeah, and you can get yours inside of these 10 years and then pass on. Because I know one of the biggest complaints is, oh, well, if I save all this money for other people, what about me? But if you take some good steps and make some good decisions, you can have fun now. And trust me, a lot of these companies are going to come back down and they're going to be cheap. And you can go read any book on investing. You always hear, I wish I would have did this 5 years ago, 10 years ago. This company went up 400%, 500%. Now everything's at a high and everyone's panicking. But also, when everything was crashing, no one wanted to buy at the crash. So you have to pick. If things drop really hard, you're going to load the boat and treat it like Black Friday. And instead of TVs, we're going to buy companies. And then let the value of it go up. And then you guys will be A-okay. You'll be A-okay. It's scary when you do it. But when you've seen this has worked year after year, decade after decade, century after century, the race should get a little bit easier. But it start. If you're afraid, just start with one share. Since the first conversation, for those of you that have bought one share, you can see what I'm talking about absolutely has worked. Absolutely. Thank you to those of you that have reached out. It's like, man, I didn't know if he was full of it at first, but it worked. I'm like, buy again. I don't need anything from you. I just wanted to see us win collectively as a community.
Well, I think collectively we have to trust a process.
Yes.
We have no access to what we believe and we don't want to study. I mean, you
That's true.
literally being able to at least know some idea about the cost of that stock.
Yes. Yep. And even if you guys just write down 10 of your favorite companies, you can just go and Google with the 10 companies and say which one are the best out of these. You will start to get some answers out of those. And you don't need a ton. You need 4. You have 4 good companies. You're fine. I know everyone's budget is different, so everyone can't afford Tesla, maybe even Apple. AMD is cheap. Disney, still cheap, right? But there are some. It's okay. It's okay. I'll put it as a B. I like tech a lot better, but the price point for most
Disney trading on that.
Disney's at 120. Yeah, so if you got Disney like at 100 or 105, by 2016 they should be like in a 158, 160 area. It's not bad. It's not bad. They're going to be affected until, of course, the entire market opens back up. But that's why I said you can make money off of the companies that are making the processors like AMD, and they're at $55, and they're going to continue to rise. And if you hold it for a few years, they should be at 110, 120. You double your money doing nothing, and then your kids get to play games. And for any parent that has a PlayStation or Xbox, you see what your kids are trying to buy in the games. Like, that should not be a hard conversation to have, because the upsells in that game are insane. They want you to buy everything, especially for the parents, your kids that play Fortnite. Keep your credit card away. Trust me, keep your credit card away. But we can take advantage of the economy opposed to letting the economy solely take care of us or take advantage of us.
Well, I think that's an important conversation, but I was really thinking Disney just, once again, one more stock that everybody knows that their kids would be aware of, that
Yes.
they can say, instead of going to Disneyland, let's actually buy some Disneyland.
Yes, absolutely. And then even if you want to be even simpler for Walmart. I don't know an adult on earth in the United States that does not know Walmart.
Right.
They're high right now, 134, but if they drop back to 110 or 120, like, load up the boat. We know Walmart isn't going anywhere. They're finally going to try and put some things in place to compete with Amazon Prime. So, like, if you compare the two, Amazon is currently at $3,008. Wow. Walmart's at 132. A lot of people, any Saturday you go to Walmart, that parking lot is not empty. People are buying. Quality company. It's been up for a long time. You don't have to worry about them going out of business. And even if you go back and look, let's say 15 years ago, the low of Walmart was at $42. It's at 134 now. That's a good return for a place that you're going to shop at anyway. So those are two good.
We got 3 more minutes because I want to take up your evening, and I do want to make sure we connect tomorrow at some point when you get off.
Anytime you need.
Okay. Well, no, I just wait till after the trade, and at least after 2. So
I appreciate that.
Finish doing what you're doing. But if you're counting down, and they were looking at the Dunlap top 10 right now, what are they?
Stocks?
Yeah.
I'll do Apple.
Dunlap top 10 this week.
Oh, that's tough. Apple, Microsoft, AMD, Nvidia. I would keep my eye on Target, Walmart, Amazon if I haven't mentioned it. MGC, which is a index ETF by Vanguard. The ticker is MGC. That's a mega cap index. Keep your eyes on Moderna, Eli Lilly, which is pretty cheap, but it's one of my favorites. They've been going up all year. And if I have to pick a sleeper, there's this company called Jack Henry and Associates. The ticker is JKHY. I've had my stock club in that since March. They got in that one to probably at 136, is at 180 now. It's a sleeper company not many people know about. You guys can Google it and check it out, but they've been doing pretty good this year. So those are the top ones that I would recommend.
Super. All right, that's the Dunlap top 10 here on Rolling Out, Seat at the Table. I think we got a name. So
I love it.
Tomorrow. All right. Appreciate you, Ian. Thank you so much.
Brother. Appreciate you. Love you.
Love you too, brother.
Peace.
For all of you who don't know, get involved, educate yourself, and know that you need to invest in yourself and invest in the knowledge to be able to prepare for today, tomorrow, and increasing the wealth of our company. I am Munson Steed, and this is A Seat at the Table. We'll see you tomorrow. All right, we're out, bro.